This time of year, we always have a pleasant task. The Professional Outdoor Media Association and NSSF Gresham Communicator of the Year Award is presented annually to that person who has been an extraordinary spokesperson, both in print, online, and in person for our industry and its products. Now, traditionally, it's gone to someone with decades of service, but this year, we've broken the mold, truly. It's no secret to most of you that digital communication is the wave of the present and of the future. And it will also come as no surprise that the younger members of our industry tend to be the most adept in this environment. This year's award winner certainly is young, but she has made a public impact far beyond her years. She began as a firearms researcher in the National Museum of American History at the Smithsonian, moving from Washington, D.C. to Cody, Wyoming, to become assistant curator and ultimately the curator of the Cody Firearms Museum at the Buffalo Bill Center of the West, home of America's largest and most comprehensive firearms collection. She brought an entirely new and public style to this position and has led the museum out of the realm of collector interest only into one of aggressive public education about the interrelated history of firearms and our nation's cultural heritage. She's appeared dozens of times on various programs discussing firearms history and has become one of the most widely followed and respected authorities on this subject. She's participated in numerous panel discussions to emphasize the legitimate role firearms continue to play in American life, and has even actively sought to be heard in predominantly anti-gun forums to effectively counter misconceptions about firearms, their makers, and their owners. So tonight, we feel it's long past due to recognize that these forms of communication represent our story to today's diverse audiences in their most effective form. And our awardee has really shown us how it's done, with knowledge, grace, and style. So we're proud to present the 2017 Gresham Communicator of the Year Award to Ms. Ashley Hlebinsky. So Ashley, please come up.
I have to move the microphone down. I think the only time I would put a cowboy hat on would be if it was something that belonged to Gresham. I just want to say I'm so humbled by this award. When I first found out that I was receiving the award, I hung up the phone and cried for a really long time. I seen the names and I know the past winners so well, and I can't believe that I'm being honored by them and by the industry, and I only hope that I can continue to preach that legacy and make them proud. You know, if you would have asked me 10 years ago that I was going to be the curator of one of the leading firearms museums in the United States, or standing right here, I would have told you were crazy. I'm gonna be a doctor. And that I've come so far. And since I got interested in firearms, I was drawn by the stories of the people around those firearms, the manufacturers, the owners, the people who are impacted by firearms. And I've been struck by just how diverse that story is. And I love being able to work at the Cody Firearms Museum, a 7,000 firearms collection from the 1400s through modern day, and pretty much every day I can pick something new and learn about it, and that's something that I am so grateful to have the honor to do. But the other thing that the Cody Firearms Museum has given me is a platform to speak to not only the gun industry, but what I call the firearms novice audience. At the Cody Museum, we are a part of 5 museums at the Buffalo Bill Center of the West, all under one roof. And so we get about 200,000 people through the doors every year on their way to Yellowstone. And while we are a destination museum for gun enthusiasts, collectors, historians, gun geeks like me, we also get a huge international audience and a coastal audience that has never really had any experience with firearms. And they probably wouldn't choose to just go to one. And because they paid the admission to go to all the museums, they wander in. And I can't tell you how many times people are just awestruck by the diversity of the firearms, the number of guns we have, and more specifically that they can find something in firearms history that relates to them. And that's something that is just so amazing. In addition to the diverse audience that we have here, we've also had the platform to speak at many academic institutions, mainstream media, as well as the firearms media. And I'm really pleasantly surprised at the genuine enthusiasm of the people that asked me to speak. I just spoke at the Art Institute of Chicago. I was a panelist at the Aspen Institute that was having a symposium on firearms and the Second Amendment. And there really is a genuine enthusiasm from a lot of these people to understand. And one of the things that struck me was after the symposium, we had a quick drink and I was talking to someone and I found out that pretty much everyone there had shot a gun and they loved it. And so I just saw that there was a common bond that I wouldn't necessarily have assumed. And so I'm going to continue not to assume, because you know what happens when you do that. But before they bring the hook out, I do want to thank a couple of people. Tom Gresham, who pretty much gave me my voice in the firearms industry. I appeared on his radio show, I appeared on his television show. It was the first show I'd ever appeared on. Steve and everyone at the NSSF, because they've been just so wonderful to us. We have a series of videos on their YouTube page. I'm going to forget so many people, but there are just so many people that have impacted me in my world. Jim Sapika and Phil Schreier at the NRA Museum, who are pretty much the best darn colleagues you can have in the gun industry. And another person that has impacted my career since the beginning, and that's David Miller, who is the curator of the National Firearms Collection at the Smithsonian. I set up a meeting with him 6 or so years ago, and I will say that I did learn that hot pink stilettos and a sundress is not the way to meet the curator of the foremost collection in the country. But he did let me talk after that, and we got to know each other, and after several hours, he said to me that a lot of people come in and drool over the guns and want to, be a part of working with guns in museums, and he said that I was one of the first people in a long time that he thought was going to be able to do it successfully, and that he would help me in any way that he possibly could. And I want to point that out because I am here right now because of mentors like Steve and Tom and David Miller and Phil Schreier and Jim Sapika, who have believed in me, and I work every day to live up to their expectations, to always know how to shut up and listen and learn from them so that I can continue my advocacy of firearms history, not just for the gun industry, but really for the mainstream community and the academic communities, so that we can continue to foster a great relationship into the future. Thank you.